Okay.
And away we go.
Yeah, we straight chillin', serial killing, pre-cool villains on the mic, got you reeling. 5-star rated from the floor to the ceiling. If you catch a 1-star, no time for feelings. Got a demon DJ on the ones and twos. By the name ones above, so don't get confused. So grab a seat by the fire, roast them all over two, and prepare to hear the legend of the straight chillin' crew.
What up, nerds, and welcome to another promiscuous episode of Straight Chilling, the weekly horror movie review show where you chill and we kill, slice, dice, and chop up yet another horror movie. My name is Bob, and I'll be your host for the evening. This is episode 458, recorded on Sunday, January 14th, 2024. Tonight, we are talking about Poor Things. Before we get into it, let me introduce everyone else on the show. First up, calling in from Washington, D.C., we got your boy, Randeezy. What's up, man?
What's going on, children?
What's going on, man? It's good to talk to you. Good to see you. Are we ready to talk about this highly erotic film together? It's a real shame I'm not in that room with you guys because
I know.
all we need is the extra steam, you know?
It reminded me a lot of our relationship, watching this
Well,
movie.
I
Very
can't
horny.
wait to dig into that
Extremely
and maybe
horny.
not speak to you again. Gonna be fun.
Oh, absolutely, yes. Next up, calling in from my left, we got your boy, Soju. What's up, man?
Oh, what up? It's your boy, Furious Jumping Stains, boys. Could go for a little bit of that these days.
The old jump hump.
Yes.
Just what the doctor
Ugh.
ordered.
A lot of motion.
The Mormon doctor ordered that.
Thanks, Bob. You're always my jumper.
You gotta be
Thanks
you
for
gotta,
always
you gotta be
supporting me,
thick
Bob.
as thieves to be a guy's jumper.
Looking out for my boy.
That's a relationship that lasts. The
Bob, he's been my jumper for
It's-
years.
I'm getting my soak on. My boy starts jumping.
Whoa.
lots of soakies, but just one jumper. Always.
Last but not least, joining us for the first time on Straight Chilling here, everybody welcome our good friend, writer, director, actor extraordinaire, Franklin Rich.
Hello. I wish I had something funny to say.
Don't worry,
That
we
was
never do.
actually hilarious. So, good job.
I'm so stoked to be here. I've been like fantasizing about coming on the show with you guys.
Sexually.
Oh, this is the perfect episode.
Exactly. Yeah.
There you go.
Awesome. Yeah, well,
This
the
is the time.
pleasure's all ours, man. Thanks so much for sitting in with us. You had a movie come out recently yourself. Do you want to let everybody listening know about it?
No. Let's no, I guess it is kind of relevant because there's been a lot of films that came out this past year about like sort of artificial women and like you had Barbie, right?
Yeah.
It was like a toy doll character that then is like granted like the chance to be a human being. Obviously Poor Things, which we're going to talk about. So my film is really just sort of like jumping on the bandwagon. It's called The Artifice Girl. It's basically like Mithrigan, but like crossed with 12 Angry Men. And it's like the people who want to see like AI like in kind of a different, more sort of slow, like take your grandma to Cracker Barrel kind of like pace,
Yeah. That sounds interesting to me. It's the
I always take my
antidote,
grandma to Cracker Barrel.
the antidote to your iRobots out there. Yeah. We've all seen your movie. We talked about it on the show briefly, not at length, but yeah, we all like it quite a bit. We saw it when it was doing its festival run last year, and encourage everybody out there to check it out.
Well, I appreciate it. And I do want to thank you guys because I did watch, I have watched several of your episodes, and I did watch the one where you guys were going through like your favorite movies.
Yeah.
And I don't remember who did, but someone put it on their like top 10 list. And then
Yeah,
everybody else was like, no, you can't do that. It's not a horror.
off.
Take it off now.
Cut a lot of heat. I cut a lot of heat for that, Franklin.
Piece of shit.
I hope you appreciate what I've done for you.
I am so grateful, Randy. And I just, like I said, I wanted to say thank you because I know you took a lot of flack for that. And I just heard like everybody else be like, how dare you, you stupid.
Randy,
I know.
up on that cross per usual. Huh?
Look, man, somebody's got to save our sins. It's got to be me if it's not going to be one of you guys.
Well, I'm here to take
No,
you down
that-
off the
it
cross,
was-
Randy, and put you in the tomb. So
All right.
you can rest easy now.
Fantastic.
Thank
Finally.
you so much.
All
Rad.
right. Nope sweat.
Yeah, check out Artifice Girl. Do yourself a favor. We got a little bit of housekeeping to jump into. Let's take care of that real quick here. Here's another reminder. We do have our February poll currently posted on our Patreon website. If you guys support us at the $5 level or above, you get the chance to vote on a movie we're talking about this February. And the theme for February is Mad Romance. The movies you're voting between are From Beyond, Spring, and Byzantium.
Whoa,
Whoa.
how those numbers looking?
Well, From Beyond definitely winning 71% of the vote. Still a tie between the other two movies with 14% each.
It's stomping though. Whoa,
Yeah.
2024 is
71%.
shaping up to be a horny ass year already.
Dude, word.
I'm
So,
down with it.
It's about time.
right.
It's about
It is an
time.
election year, that gets everyone wound. It's everybody rearing to go.
There's just so much sexual tension in the air
Yeah.
during
There's
an
just
election
that's
year.
just tension. It's only
That's-
sexual if you relieve it that way.
I do. Get your votes in before the end of-
for dick.
There you go. Before the end of January, we'll see what movie we're talking about in February. In other Patreon news, we're dropping mini casts every other Friday. I've got a new one dropping this Friday, the 19th, talking about that new Shudder original joint called Destroy All Neighbors.
Nice.
Ooh.
Check
It's a
it
brand new one.
Yeah.
Starting the year off strong, I hope.
You'll have to listen to
I'll-
find
I'll
out.
listen.
Patrons only.
Don't speak too soon.
Ooh, behind the paywall. It's got an interesting ass cast though. Jonah Ray is sort of the lead, and Alex Winter is also in it. I can't remember the last time I saw him in a movie. It's been quite a while. The dude from Bill and Ted.
Yeah, he was in something not that long ago, but
Was
I
he?
can't place what it was. Yeah, I feel like he had something last year or maybe the year before that was somewhat substantial for him. And yeah, I'm excited to see that. That just sounds like a pretty punk rock movie, honestly, based on those two
Yeah.
castings alone.
It is. It's got a cameo from Kumail Nanjiani as well. That dude's pretty
Oh,
damn
nice.
funny. So yeah, check it out on Patreon this Friday the 19th. And I think that's all we got going on with Patreon. Do you guys have plugs?
So I was just going to mention, make sure everyone check out the feature I did with Caitlin on Plug It Out for Only Lovers Left Alive.
Mhm.
That is out now. And it was a really fun conversation. Caitlin and I watched that film for the first time and got to kind of pick it apart together. And it was a really interesting conversation. We also have a bonus episode dropping next week. I think we should go ahead and mention for people to check out. And that's going to be an interview we did with a director who has a new film coming out. His name is Barnaby Clay. He's got a film coming out called The Seeding, and we're going to be covering that one in full as well too. But
Mhm.
our full interview with him is going to be coming out next week, so keep an eye out for that bonus material.
Bonus episode.
Yeah,
Oh, get
Yeah.
ready.
I think that's all my housekeeping.
I got one more.
Got one more,
little
Randy.
thing.
You good?
Mine would have been yours, so we're done. Go
Okay,
ahead,
cool.
Bob.
I did a feature with our friend Nicole over at Light and Shadow podcast. We talk about The Serpent and the Rainbow, which is a Wes Craven
Nice.
joint. It's a little underseen, yeah. But she is diving into religion and horror specifically, and we talk at length about voodoo. I believe this is the first movie she has tackled that had nothing to do, well, very little to do with Catholicism, or really just, I guess,
It's
Christianity.
pretty tough to
Yeah,
escape
I
in
don't-
horror, honestly.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, for
That's
sure.
Interesting.
I believe that's dropping on the 18th, January
Cool.
18th. So check that out,
Alright.
Light and Shadow podcast. Yeah, I think our house is clean.
This house is clean.
Let's get into the main event. We are talking 4 things, and we're kicking it off with the back of the box.
What's on the back of the box?
Bob, when are you going to order this box and add it to your collection over here?
Add it to the stack.
Yeah.
I don't know, whatever you can. I don't think
Has
you can
it?
yet.
No, not yet. All right.
Yeah,
Got it on your wish list.
I'm
Get
wishing.
a little alert when it pops up.
wishing upon a star. Notify me, Best Buy or
I need
whoever.
these deleted scene yabos over here.
There's just not enough
There's just not
nudity.
enough nudity
in
in
this
this film.
movie.
I need more.
I only saw 8 dicks. That's not enough.
It's just peanuts in your face.
in your face. Poor Things. This is a new movie. Runtime of 2 hours and 21 minutes, rated R, directed by your boy Yorgos Lanthimos, based on a book by the same name written by Alasdair Gray, starring Emma Stone, Mark Ruffalo, Willem Dafoe, a whole bunch of wonderful other folks. Plot synopsis brought to you by IMDb is as follows. The incredible tale about the fantastical evolution of Bella Baxter, a young woman brought back to life by the brilliant and unorthodox scientist Dr. Godwin Baxter. Gentlemen, would you recommend folks check out Poor Things? Franklin, why don't you kick us off, man?
Yes, I thoroughly enjoyed Poor Things.
Mm.
I thought I was actually really kind of, I hadn't read the IMDb synopsis, but they do a good job of like leading it right just with the incredible story.
Yeah.
You know, the like fantastical, which it very much is compared to some of Yorgos's previous films, and just compared to a lot of films out there in general. This film is gorgeous.
Yeah.
You know, it's got some terrific production design, and it's a lot of fun. It does still have those like Yorgos elements that make you kind of wince. They're a little uncomfortable. There's definitely a lot that pushes the envelope, but overall I thoroughly enjoyed it, and it had me laughing a lot.
Right on. Juice, what about you?
Yeah, I would recommend people check this out. This was a lot of fun. I got to see it with our boy Matt in the theater, and we were cracking our asses up. Like, it was a lot of fun. It is, you know, it's not one to take your grandma, you know, you can take her to Cracker Barrel afterwards.
It's not.
Yeah. It is, you know, highly sexual, and there's some things that have made some people uncomfortable, I guess. But overall, I thought it was a wonderful film, very unique and just different than a lot of stuff that's getting a lot of attention these days in the theater. So yeah, absolutely, I would recommend people check this out. Randy, would you recommend people check this out?
I'm gonna step into line with you fellas. I think this is a
Get in
really
line.
fucking gorgeous looking movie. Like the sets on this thing are incredible, just for starters, and the performances are great. The characters are really interesting. There's some depth for sure, and even if you're not, you know, digging into the depths for that, and you're just in for a popcorn movie, there's quite a bit of laughs in this movie. It kind of has something for everybody except for Grandma. Grandma, stay home. Do not come to us. So yes, recommended.
Bob,
Right on.
would you recommend people check this out?
Yeah, for sure. I'll step in line too. This movie is hella fun. It's I think Juice, you mentioned earlier, this is sort of like the goth version of Barbie.
Yeah.
Kind of some similar type themes going on, but really great actors, great performances. It's a beautiful film, super funny, weird Frankenstein story that I kind of love. So check it out. That sounds like a hearty recommendation across the board from us here at Straight Chilling. We are going to be spoiling this new movie, so here comes your warning.
Spoiler warning.
Bob, you said it's been a few weeks since you saw this movie. You got that plot synopsis ready for us?
I got it.
Hit me with it.
Hopefully I got everything in here. We'll see. So here we go. In Victorian London,
Wrong.
medical student Max McCandles becomes an assistant to disfigured surgeon Godwin Baxter. Godwin meets and falls in love with a young woman by the name of Bella. Sorry, Max. Max meets and falls in love with a young woman named Bella. Godwin then reveals Bella committed suicide by jumping off a bridge, but the baby she was carrying inside of her survived the fall. He rescued Bella by replacing her brain with that of her baby, which is why she now has a childlike demeanor. Max eventually asks for Bella's hand in marriage, and she accepts, but as her intelligence is rapidly increasing, she wants some freedom. She ends up running off with lawyer Duncan Wetterbum. Bella and Duncan set out on a journey starting in Lisbon, where they engage in frequent sexual activity. Bella begins to become more difficult for Duncan to control, so he smuggles her onto a cruise ship where it's easier to keep an eye on her. Duncan begins drinking and gambling. During a brief stop off at Alexandria, Bella donates all of his winnings due to the extreme poverty she sees in the town. Since they can no longer afford the remainder of the cruise, they get kicked off at Marseille and make their way over to Paris, where Bella begins working at a brothel. This makes Duncan so distraught he has a mental breakdown, and Bella leaves him entirely. Bella befriends several other prostitutes and continues to learn about human nature. Godwin becomes terminally ill and asks Max to bring Bella home. Duncan is then institutionalized upon Bella's return to London. She intends to finally marry Max. They are interrupted by Duncan and a new character by the name of General Alfie Blessington. Alfie calls Bella Victoria and explains they were married before she killed herself. She decides to go with Alfie to learn about her previous life. She soon learns Alfie is a violent and sadistic motherfucker, which must be why she jumped off a bridge. Alfie holds Bella at gunpoint, demanding she drink a chloroform martini so that she will be sedated for the vaginal circumcision that he has planned for her. She throws the drink in his face, causing him to shoot himself in the foot. He eventually passes out. Godwin passes away peacefully, and Bella decides to follow in his footsteps and become a doctor. Alfie has his brain swapped with that of a goat, and the movie eventually ends with Bella sitting in the garden with Max, reading and drinking cocktails happily ever after. Roll credits.
Love it.
Yeah, poor thing.
What a
Poor
happy
things.
ending.
Right?
As
I was
happy as it
surprised.
gets.
Yeah.
Yeah, truly.
Happier than the
that-
original Frankenstein ending, I think we can all agree.
Yeah.
I think that's fair to say. Yes.
Yeah.
This does
Yeah.
have a lot of like common stuff going on with like Barbie, and it's interesting, like the idea of especially specifically a female being like brought into this world as sort of like, you know, born yesterday sort of thing. I don't know, that is having a moment, as they say in marketing, right now, with quite a few films and tackling it from kind of all different ways. This one, like, I kept thinking as I saw like a featurette with Emma Stone where she or maybe it was the trailer even, where she was saying like, oh, this to me is the story about being a woman. And so like that was rattling around in my head from before the movie started. And it's pretty clear that that's what's going on here. And nobody is more qualified to talk about it than the four of us. So I'm excited to get into it with you guys.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Bring in the female perspective.
I've
Four
actually-
dudes.
I've actually talked to a few women
Mhm.
in my life, and
Whoa.
I do think that
Good
like
for you, dude.
yeah that
Brag.
this is the right group to like to have
Dissect.
opinions about it.
We got it.
Totally.
We're gonna
Yeah,
heal
we got
this
covered.
country right now.
That's right.
Let me tell you what women think.
I think it's interesting you did point that out, though. That's been like definitely a trend in a lot of films and themes in films. I mean, my own included is this idea of autonomy, and I think that right now we're kind of recognizing that is sort of the story of being a woman, is a sort of search for autonomy. Now it's a very human thing, and I think a lot of people, including cis white men, like can still empathize with that and understand that, because we are all still kind of searching for like a sense of identity, just like Bella is in the film. But I do think it is interesting that there's been like a lot of films this year about like trying to understand what it is to be human and the freedom that kind of comes with that, the autonomy of that. It's interesting, and this is a great one to close out the year with.
Yeah.
Yeah, it kind of like last year we got The Menu wrapped up the end of the year too, and just like these stellar kind of films that just coming at the end of the year. It's like it almost in some way I'm kind of a little bummed for it because I feel like people are already moving on, you know, for the year, and so I'm glad we get a chance to cover this because I do want to kind of beat the drum for this film a little bit because it is so fantastic in that way. Now it reminded me a lot, so you guys will know I mentioned this a lot in 2022. It was one of my favorite movies. I think it was number 2 on my horror list, but it was a movie called You Won't Be Alone, and it was about a girl who was kept in a cave until she turned 18. She had no experience with the world, and then she had to go learn what it was to be a human being for the rest of her life. And that was very serious, somber movie, you know, very sad.
No, it wasn't a laugh riot. It sounds
No,
hilarious.
not at all. But this reminded me a lot of that, just on the flip side, you know, very fun, bright, vibrant type of film. And it resonated me in the same kind of ways though, because what I found beautiful about that film is I could empathize with this character who just didn't know, you know, the things that limits everyone else from enjoying the beautiful kind of things in life that kind of keep them capped on enjoyment or expressing themselves and things like that. And so it struck me in the same exact way. Even though the tone was very different, it still resonated with me in such a powerful way, because you do kind of feel that longing for freedom, of just like letting go, of just like cutting ties and just being free, and like losing that burden, I think, of life.
Mhm.
And so yeah, it was nice to see that, but in not such a somber tone, but still pack such a punch, I think.
Yeah, and what's like good about the setup for this movie is that because of who she is raised by, because she's raised by God, aka Godwin. Willem Dafoe is a really great character, who's disfigured and all these things. She's being raised by this guy who's like all about empirical observation and science, and so she takes that on for herself. And so you kind of get to see, at least through her eyes, through her understanding of the world, her experiences, what an almost objective view of her sequence of events is. So she's like almost like a passive observer in many ways with her own life in many places, but strictly for her own benefit still, because it's about observing what happens if I do X, what happens when, Y happens, how is this person going to react? Is this person he said, like learning all those things as she goes. She's very rarely given to like bouts of like emotional fervor and all that stuff, a couple times, and certainly some like bleak moments for her as a character, but it's always sort of like rounded out by like she has this two sort of like operating procedures that she always follows. One is the scientific method sort of thinking, anyway, at least scientific thinking and observation. But the other is that she feels she can improve the world based on the observation she's getting. And that is almost like a contra agent in there that's like doing an extra level of heavy lifting for theme in this. I think it's like it's just another really exceptional layer that is accessible to all. To Franklin, your point, I think that is sort of the nugget that's universal, which is, she deals with like philosophy in a very direct way, and she has I forget the character's name, but the character who's a nihilist that comes on later on and is, or a cynic. I can't remember how they describe him. It's one of those.
Oh yeah, the guy on the boat.
A guy in the boat, and like he's has friendly banter, but it's all very much about like she's sort of like taking these worldviews that are based on observation in and of themselves of how humans act in certain situations, but still she like marches forward with this understanding that that's how things are, not how things could be, I guess, is kind of where I get. So it's kind of an oddly hopeful movie for all of the fucked up things that kind of are interspersed throughout.
Yeah, I think something that's pretty interesting about this movie, it's like you mentioned, Franklin, we're getting a ton of a glut of movies about that kind of focus on like the autonomy of women. We're also getting a glut of movies that are just retellings of the Frankenstein story.
Absolutely.
Like I think we had like 3 last year. We're gonna get a couple more this year. It's just like something that's sort of in the zeitgeist simultaneously. And I don't know if I can think of a Frankenstein story I've seen put to film that has had a happy ending other than this.
True. Yeah.
It never ever seems to happen, which is really interesting that it doesn't focus on the act of creation as much as a lot of them do as well. It really focuses on like the life of the creature and the growth of the creature, and like the creature learns and like adapts and grows and is like pretty okay. Like at the end, which just is so rare. I don't know. I love it.
Yeah.
Frankenweenie ended happy, but
Yeah, but it shouldn't have.
Yeah, do we? Yeah, I agree with that. Actually, I
Yeah.
recently rewatched Frankenweenie, and I
Did you?
completely
Yeah.
agree. I was like, well, that undercuts the whole point of the
Right.
story.
Exactly.
What the hell? Yeah, I agree. Though it unlike a lot of these Frankenstein stories, which is sort of about like the tragedy of life and the creation versus the creator. In this one, it's a much less cynical kind of take on that in how Bella doesn't resent God, Godwin, right? She cares about him, and she feels like his sort of purpose she can kind of like take that and appropriate it to be her purpose, which ends up like kind of being quite beautiful. She doesn't feel burdened by it. She's very like motivated by it. And he doesn't like try to control her or try to keep her. He's like, let her go if she wants to go. She'll figure things out. So, and if you apply that to like humanity versus, wherever we came from, I think that that's a very hopeful message. This idea that we can be like positive, reflections of the world around us.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, you're right. It was a surprisingly hopeful and not cynical, fun ending, and
Yeah.
it's still twisted, but
Yeah,
but
for
fun.
sure. It deals with a lot of bleak stuff like along the
You know-
way, but it ends in a hopeful note. Yeah.
Sorry, one thing that occurred to me, speaking of the ending, the one thing that like I thought the whole thing with like the husband, like the way that they concluded that is kind of funny, but like I had this moment before they revealed that I thought they were putting Godwin's brain into him.
Matt,
And sort
so
of like,
yeah, Matt said the same
Oh.
exact thing. So
Did he?
when that whole process was going down, he leaned over and he was like, "I think they're gonna put Godwin's brain," and I was like, "Yeah." So when they switched to the goat, it was kind of weird, but I guess it kind of undercut some things too. Like I don't really know if Godwin would want that
Right.
necessarily, but to kind of go off what we were just talking about there, that's kind of like an important theme that I didn't necessarily kind of consider for this film. Is often Frankenstein is this victim that is abused by his creator or rejected, tossed out into the world with no understanding. He has to teach himself to speak and to read and things like that. Doesn't know how to interact with human beings. And so in just, Godwin's not the perfect father, but he's more positive than negative for sure.
Yeah.
And like what you said, Franklin, like he supports her to go. He's teaching her. And at one point, I think it's interesting because he often refers back to his father, who there's this good like dark and light for that, because Godwin's father seems like a real piece of shit.
Right.
Who is also a scientist like Godwin is, and was only, experimented on his own son to the point where he mutilates him horribly and, handicaps him based in like certain thing, eating and stuff. And Godwin has that same kind of mindset in a way, and he is experimenting on Bella and stuff like that. But the switch and the kind of I think growth that he has is a kind of refreshing turn, because we do get a lot of movies about generational trauma and that kind of carrying on. It is kind of nice to have a Frankenstein movie, but then also have this like generational trauma movie that's like, no,
That the cycle
Rejection.
can be broken.
yeah, it can be
Yeah.
broken. We can learn from it. We can change these
that's-
things, and it changed the movie like completely. It's beautiful. It's wonderful. Yeah.
Absolutely.
I totally agree. And I think like the thing that struck me about that is we have this Frankenstein's monster in this movie that is a beautiful young woman who can walk easily into the world, and she's also like white and in white society, all those things. She sort of can exist comfortably just on appearance. He cannot, and that got me thinking that like to me, he kind of fills the role of like the surviving original Frankenstein's monster almost. He kind of went through that whole process himself and came out the other side a more thoughtful and considerate person with his own experiments, although still flawed because he is driven by his own not ego, I'm sorry, what's the word? Curiosity. His curiosity about what could happen. He does some pretty ghoulish shit, and he does end up largely regretting a lot of it, but I don't know. I feels like if you pluck Frankenstein's monster from the end of that story and sort of rewrite it just a little bit, you have Godwin's character, and he is sort of doing the same thing, but with a more hopeful bent. I don't know if there's something to that or not, or if it was conscious, but I thought about that at the end of the movie. I was like I said, I was a little bit confused when I saw the goat thing, but it made me laugh, and I agree that was probably would have been a bad idea. And I just kept thinking about Godwin and his role, and it really feels like he's already learned the lessons that he is allowing Bella to go out and learn, and he had almost forgotten them because he was trying to control her the way he was controlled. But letting her go was to him the only clear thing he could do, being objective about it, allowing her to go and do her thing. That was the only thing that he could ethically do at that point, I think. And I don't know if there's anything to that or not. It just sounded good in my brain, I guess.
I love it. I'm hooked on that. I love the idea that it's like a secret sequel to Frankenstein. I think that's
Yeah,
that's
kind
really
of.
brilliant. Like you said, if you had plucked him out of that, and then it kind of creates this sort of new hopeful context to Frankenstein of like, yeah, but the monster doesn't necessarily have to go and repeat all of Frankenstein's mistakes.
Mhm.
He might still carry over a lot of that trauma. He might still have the same kinds of like flaws that maybe his creator did, but he still does things just a little bit differently with a little bit more wisdom because of his experiences through the story
as
of
a
Frankenstein.
mutilated
Yeah.
guy. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
like he has to walk around the world like he's treated poorly. We see that, but he rises above that by being skilled and being above it all and like in his attitudes and just sort of like rising above it and allowing himself to pursue his passions without concern. And I don't know, the original Frankenstein story is very much marred. Like the opportunity of that monster to go into the world and like make something of himself is extremely inhibited in a way that Bella's is not. And so I think that's kind of a key difference of why their stories go differently, but it tells such a compellingly different story that, it works. And I think that tying them together works really well too. So
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love how the film transforms with Bella.
Mhm.
We get a couple things. I mean, the look, I think like the color palette, just everything like kind of transforms with her, and in a very interesting way too. Not only is this like a retelling of like Frankenstein and stuff like that, but it's this like coming of age story where like it's very whimsical and it in a kind of like weird twist way, which, well, it's fine. Like I get like tells a kind of story of like first love or like a first like kind of sexual experience. And it's in Portugal it's a lot more colorful and things like that. By the time she gets to like Paris, we've sucked a lot of the color out. I like that her hair continues to grow and the way it's braided in and stuff. And I just, it's a very interesting thing. I mean, this director, he does a lot of experimental weird shit anyways, and I applaud him for that because I feel like in this movie it really just makes it that much more enjoyable to watch. I think probably my favorite section probably was Portugal, just for the scenes and everything like that. But it was just a very interesting way of like creating a film to just like it looks completely different depending on what section you're in.
Yeah.
That was really cool.
Yeah, you can take any
That-
frame out of context and know exactly what act it came from or
Mm.
what location it's from. They do
Yeah.
a good job of making every frame distinct to
Yeah.
its setting.
Her wardrobe evolves with her brain as well. So like at the beginning of the movie, she's wearing these like big poofy childlike kind of gowns, and then as the movie evolves, they become like more adult, which is kind of a nice touch too. The look of the movie overall, it's starting off in black and white, really kind of even pushes the idea of the movie more into that like classic Universal monsters type Frankenstein story. Like really gets your head in that mindset, or at least it did for me. And then it just like the color just like pops up in this way that like feels very seamless, and I think that's difficult to do, but I don't know, he pulled it
dude,
off
for real.
fairly well.
I was gonna say, like, I can't remember the exact scene where they switched over. I remember in the something happening.
Keep talking, Randy.
Talking,
Yeah,
testing,
we
testing.
got a mechanical problem here.
Uh-oh.
It's that cable.
Keep talking.
I think you're good
Talking,
now.
talking, talking.
You're good.
Speaking.
Juice, can you have my
I
notebook?
Yes.
don't remember what I was saying.
Well, no,
We were talking about the look of the film, and then Bob
the black and
brought
white,
up that it was
yeah.
black and white.
Oh
Where's the
yeah.
pen, Bob?
Okay.
Hang on,
So
Bob
you-
needs to make a note.
Give me the old thumbs up when you're.
Yeah, good, go.
Yeah. So like, I couldn't even tell. I like even moments after they switched to color, I was like, oh shit, wait a minute, it's in color already. Like, when did that happen? I could not even pinpoint when it was. It was very seamless, and like, it was beautiful in color. But then that Lisbon scene in particular, it suddenly becomes fucking like BioShock Infinite in this motherfucker. It's like this beautiful place that's like very stylized and very like, it's almost got like that the CG of it or whatever. It's really beautiful, but it's also like almost artificial feeling still within that. It's Disneyfied, and that later on gets drawn back a lot. So to your point, Justin, I think that is true, that it grounds itself as it goes on, but it starts off sort of black and white, like no information to go off of, just a husk with just the workings of a beginning brain, and then like experiencing the world for the first time is like this insane, gorgeous thing. And then it slowly sort of chips away. Things get bleaker, things get brighter sometimes, but like for the most part, it's towing a line for the rest of the movie. Yeah, I think that's really smart. The fucking sets and set pieces in this movie are just beautiful. I can't get over it. Even the like interstitials between acts or between chapters or whatever they call them in this,
Yeah,
They're
like the
so
sort of
fucking
moving
interesting.
paintings almost. They were all
Yeah.
surreal, but they were all gorgeous and always really exciting to like kind of extrapolate like what is that going to refer to? Like how is this relevant to what the next section's going to be? Yeah, I love that stuff. That the hyper stylized kind of thing. And I think it was when they take that stop, I forget where they take the stop, and she sees the
Alexandria. I
is
think.
it
Oh, yeah.
Alexandria?
Yeah.
There's that. It's like a building. It's like a tall tower on
Mm.
like a precipice of a cliff or whatever. And that set, which I assume is a miniature, because it just looks so like textile and real, is gorgeous. And even if you can tell that that's not a real place, the
Mhm.
fact that they took the time to build a thing, or at least designed the CGI in such a way for it to look like a real miniature, I think is terrific. I
Yeah.
love that kind of
A
just
lot of attention to
style.
detail.
Oh,
in
It looks
this
like
movie.
mist or something. Like
Oh,
it
thank
doesn't-
you. I
Yeah.
am so glad you referenced Mist. That's I completely agree. There's something about those games. The Mist games were like some of the first games to utilize applying textures to CGI objects. So you get this like kind of it's like this faux hyper real kind of thing where you know it's not real, but it just feels so textured and like you could reach out and touch it. And you're absolutely right. Like all of the models and all of these sort of spaces have that kind of texture to it. It's
was
very
like-
unique.
It reminded me of that, and then also there were several sequences, and that one in particular that reminded me of, for those in the know, those who know that have seen the Twin Peaks season 3, some of those fucking insane David Lynch like dream sequency things. If you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. I won't speak on it too much, but there's a lot of like fantasticalness in this, but it somehow like in the middle of that grounds itself in a pretty understandable story. Like it never loses me, really, right? Like, anybody feel that too? Like I never felt like I was without a guide, or that I didn't have the point of view that I'm supposed to have. I felt very cared for as a viewer, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very understandable. I will say there was one I did. I'm gonna heap a lot of praise on this movie, so to kind of balance it out, I guess there was one kind of thing that kind of bothered me a little bit, and it would take a kind of second watch to feel or to see like if it really did bother me or not. But the one transition that felt a little clunky, and I felt myself being like, okay, like where are we going? Or like kind of like let's move it along, or maybe something like that. Is the
Mhm.
only time I felt this was when she goes to her old husband's house. The transition from where she's about to show up at the wedding, and then she goes to this guy's house because he's a completely new character. We have to like learn, it's toward the end of the movie. We have to learn all about this kind of new character and in this new kind of situation. And I feel like things there move a lot more rapidly, as opposed to, I feel like in Portugal, and then even the time we spent on the boat, like we spend so much time with Duncan and really get to know what a piece of shit he is in a complex way, why he's driven that way and things like that, that it just felt like when we get to this new character, he was just almost like cartoonishly villainous,
He was
I had a lot of ground to
cartoonish.
cover.
And
Yeah.
it does almost feel when the wedding scene almost felt like a soap opera kind of sequence.
Yeah.
Almost, it's like, oh no, and here comes the husband of the previous woman, right? And he's gonna interrupt, and then she goes with him, and everybody's shocked. And then, like, you're absolutely right, he is cartoonishly villainous. He's like constantly waving around this giant gun, and like it's so silly and ridiculous. And they're like, he's laughing about how evil he is. And it's kind of great. I
Yeah.
agree. It's bizarre, and it seems like a very rushed, like, okay, now we're gonna just full speed into the third act.
Yeah.
And it also doesn't help that she's just like, yeah, I'll go with him, without like any kind of everybody's like, whoa,
Assurances.
we were just about to have a happy ending, and now you're just gonna sort of suddenly decide you want to go with him. Now it does make sense, I think, later, but yeah,
Yeah.
it was jarring.
and that's- go
this
ahead,
was based on a book. I assume they sort of take more time with all that in the book, but it's one of those things transferring
I didn't know it was based on a book.
a full ass
Yeah.
transferring a full ass book into a movie. You got your time limits, and this
Sure,
is
okay.
a long movie.
Yeah.
But I do like. I guess it's quick and a bit cartoonish in his character, the way it's written and everything. But I like it a lot because he truly is such an easy person to hate. And I think it plays into her character and the point of the movie quite a bit because she is so distraught at the beginning of the movie. We don't, she kills herself. That's how the movie starts. And it's like it could have been a really tragic ending for a character, but it sort of shows that she is actually able to start anew, like she's able to start a new life in a way that, her story didn't necessarily have to end with such tragedy. So
Yeah.
it like really paints a full picture of what her life is before she commits suicide. I think it's important to know that for the
Sure.
purposes of the movie.
And the
I'm on the
clitoris
fence.
removal thing, that was
Yeah.
important for
Oof.
her to be like, I'd rather die. And
Yeah.
just to have that point of the control of this is how
Yeah,
I'm gonna control you.
Absolutely.
That
Yeah.
was important. It was just the whole sequence. That was the only time I felt, whoa,
Whoa, where are we
like
going
kind
now?
of
Yeah.
clunky
Right.
about it.
And
I
I would
kind
also say, sorry, yeah,
No, please go ahead.
also because all of these previous sets and settings have been
Mhm.
so like kind of large and fantastical and like to like suddenly get squeezed into this like wooden
That's true.
like
yeah.
space, the hallways, which were beautiful, but also definitely felt
Mhm.
like disconnected from the rest of the
point.
world.
Yeah, totally.
Maybe that was intentional.
Yeah.
It very well could have been, but yeah,
Isn't
it
that-
definitely felt.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I keep cutting you off. No,
No,
it was
no.
definitely like a hostile environment. But I'm
Yeah.
like, I'm on the fence about this too. Like I like how kind of the end result of all of that. I love, like, I laughed pretty good when he had a goat and goat brain all of a sudden, all that stuff. I also agree that it's like it's kind of nice to see where she came from and see her overcome that in a way. But I'm with Juice, like it kind of just in the moment feels very much out of nowhere, and like because she is the way that she is and she's so analytical, you kind of just have to trust. Like I'm sitting there looking at this as any like most movies would have approached this kind of situation like a soap opera where and I can't remember the character's name, but the person she's marrying, whatever his name was, Max.
Max, yeah.
Max, thank you. Okay, so he, like in any other production, I feel like he would have like gone to fisticuffs or something, but he lets her go again. He has learned not to try and control her at all, and that is what's seen as virtuous in this, is letting people go off and do their own thing, even if it hurts you. And I don't know, there's something kind of beautiful about that. So I love that it happened for that, and as well for her. But like it does feel very like it feels like the movie is ending, and then there's 3 more chapters all of a sudden, and I'm like, oh shit, wait, what? I thought we were wrapping things up. It didn't help that I had to pee. I'm just gonna say that.
We need intermissions. Yeah, something I think we definitely need to touch on in this movie is the just insane amount of sex that's in it.
Oh.
And
What?
Yeah, right? Yeah. Did you miss the sex?
I don't remember.
Did the sex fly by so quickly? You just don't remember? They handle it in a way that's sort of, it's just like very matter of fact in this movie, in a way that makes it feel, even though there's like so much of it in this movie, it doesn't feel like it's like exploitative in any way. It feels just kind of like,
Yeah.
I don't know, it's an important part of humanity. It's just like we're gonna explore it in this movie in a very matter-of-fact way, in like all of the varying facets that you can. And some of them are hella uncomfortable, but like
Yeah.
part of life, unfortunately, for some folks, But I don't know. I thought they handled it in a way that was like fairly tactful, and I guess tactful. I don't know, maybe that's not the right word. How to hit
I mean, because the way it hit me is any sex scene felt like just another interaction between her and Mark Ruffalo. Now, I will say, like, now this is interesting. What I was going to say is I actually found the, I guess, brothel scenes to be, I don't even know, like the word, not less engaging, but like less sexual, more static.
Yeah,
I guess. Because in the one with Mark Ruffalo, where that's the, she's just having sex with Duncan,
the Hulk.
Yeah, is really, those scenes were interesting because it was just another scene about their relationship.
Yeah.
As if they were having dinner, or if they were going to sightseeing,
It's
or
important to
whatever.
the plot.
Yeah. It didn't necessarily feel like a separated scene where we're having sex or whatever. It just felt like another interaction of their relationship that was building those characters. And so they were more, I guess, tantalizing or just interesting to watch because I was watching these characters interact. but that's the point, right? Is the and
Mhm.
then the brothel ones are just about,
Her learning
like,
more
yeah,
broadly
yeah.
about humanity and the
Yeah,
varying
so that's very
facets.
so
And
I think they handled it in a way that, yeah, I don't know if I've ever really seen that, honestly.
It's one of those like things that is again really an added benefit coming from how they set this character up, because again she is all matter of fact, so it's not
Mhm.
like we're watching a seductive sex scene. We're watching it almost the way she is watching it from her perspective, which is clinical. It's like she's enjoying herself, but like it's, oh, what's causing this joy or whatever, like there's some of that going on there, and she's just like, well, I just like doing this, so we're going to do this. And then when you get to the brothel, it becomes way more about finding out about the other person in the relationship
yeah,
rather than self-discovery, which I think would point to some more like female experience, if I'm not if I may be so bold.
yeah. She like gives them the sniff test and like makes
Yeah.
them tell a story, and she tells a joke and like,
Which I love that.
Yeah,
like
it's fantastic.
I really loved all of the brothel scenes. I thought that those were fantastic.
yeah,
It's the scenes actually earlier with Mark Ruffalo that I felt almost a little, I don't know, not confused, but maybe I feel as though there could have been an adjustment. And the only like real note or critique I have for the film are those sex scenes with Ruffalo in the first act of the film, because we keep like he's constantly in the frame with her, and they're like they I think they even have some like close-up shots of Ruffalo, and to me that kind of seems to suggest that she's paying attention to him in those scenes when I feel as though she wasn't.
Mhm.
And maybe they could have, maybe the way that they shot that could have been a little bit more effective towards this idea that she's really just like experiencing pleasure, and whatever's causing it, like cool, whatever. She's
Yeah.
not, like you said, she's not in love with him, or she's not, it's not like a seduction with him. It's just like, wow, this feels really fucking good. And I wish maybe in like those initial sort of shots, in those initial scenes, they'd maybe isolated her, or it was like just maybe there was like a lot of wide shots, I felt.
yeah.
And if they had saved those for the brothel stuff, then you kind of get to see this evolution of like, it's not just a cause and effect, I feel good, but instead this like, I'm starting to realize that I'm not the only sort of participant in this, that maybe there's like other
Yeah.
people involved. And then when she starts like kind of starting to like experience romance, like with the other prostitute, that's when like the camera kind of pulls back a little bit. That's just like that, I mean, like I'm not gonna come in and be like I would have done this differently, but I feel like because of the way that those scenes with Ruffalo was shot, I was almost starting to feel like, wait, does she give a shit about him?
Yeah.
Like why are we seeing him if she's not paying attention to him?
You know,
the film is from her perspective.
My boy
That's a good
Yorgos
question.
dropped the fucking ball on this.
Drop
I
two
know.
if you want to get technical.
Well, as
He's gonna be so angry when he watches this.
as a tangent to that, but something that I did enjoy about the film that I don't like the way it's shot. Yeah, I don't really know, but one thing that I did enjoy though, and let me be a little bold, like trying to assume like this kind of female perspective in a little bit, but just like what I personally enjoyed about the film was a lot of the times, like the character of Mark Ruffalo, we as an audience, we know what he's about. Oh, the shyster, he's, and even I love at the beginning where he's dropping these fuckboy lines of,
Yeah.
oh, I'm just going to be around for 3 months, don't get attached and shit like that.
Fucking idiot.
But I feel like, that's the kind of thing that is often warned against or shamed of like,
Yeah.
why are you with this person? Or, can't you see how toxic this person is or negative? But the thing about I like it as a, kind of I mentioned a coming of age tale is she kind of knows and she learns more and more as she goes, but she's like, well, I'm in it like for the sex too.
Yeah.
She's like, and as she goes along, she's like, your face really fucking starting to piss me off. You son of a bitch." But then I like where they're even coming to the end of the relationship where she's, again, matter of fact, but it works well. She's like, I guess it's after she's been at the brothel and she's like, oh, you always bragged about how you were the best lay. And like, hey, turns out, you know what, you actually were. But then, it kind of comes from her embracing it and her point in her life of where she's like, yeah, this feels good. And so I want to experience it. Hey, I want to travel the world too. So I'm going to travel with this guy. And like, we don't always get along, but I feel like that's something that's always painted in such a negative light and like is we place
that's-
shame upon it. Like, why are you? But it's kind of refreshing to see it from this point of like view from a woman of like, hey, I'm in it for the sex too, you
Yeah.
know, like
Mhm.
so the fuck what? That's what I want to do with my time right now. I'm straight up with everybody, and so that was kind of refreshing. I was like, man, that's just a lot of things that you see in this. I'm just like, I just don't see that a lot in films.
Very
Yeah.
European. You know?
Whoa.
I really loved that about it too. I was thinking the same thing when I like when you see it the way that he like falls down cataclysmically, and it's largely a result of him not like understanding what she's there for and
Yeah.
him getting fixated on that. Like he's a ladies' man. His whole shtick is he even says is like I was just gonna dump you off, but like you got in my brain. And the way she did that was by being aloof to him and treating him like the object he treats her like.
Yeah.
It gives her a power. I don't know. I really think about like again, like you got this Frankenstein's monster who is able to walk through the world as a gorgeous woman. And I think that if you're telling a story from a female perspective, like that's walking through the world as a woman means that the world is going to, based on fucking eons of social norms, are going to treat you sexually, and so you have to learn how to not just understand that what you want out of that, what it is for you, but also like how to like use it for your own gain to some degree, or how
Right,
to
right.
I don't know, like how to amend it to yourself without it becoming like the point of your existence, the way that people treat you, that it's the point of your existence. That's what I was kind of getting out of that. And
Yeah.
I really loved that they shot that right down, and I love the way that they like just show this cratering of Ruffalo's character.
It's
Yeah,
fantastic.
It's so cathartic.
It's so great that she doesn't have like this moment of like, wait a minute, you're a terrible human being and I actually hate you. Let's break up. Instead, it's just him going crazy because he can't control this person or
Yeah.
like you said, understand her. I thought that was fantastic, which I feel like I don't know if we haven't really talked about Ruffalo,
Yeah.
who
Oh.
shines. I mean, Emma Stone, I think, deserves the Oscar for this. But Ruffalo was hilarious
Yeah,
in,
he
in, a,
is.
in a capacity that I just did not expect from him, because he is usually so good at playing a very kind of something very close to how his mannerisms already are.
Mhm.
And he's a brilliant actor. He's one of my favorite actors of all time. And when you see films like Spotlight and whatnot, and you can see like he has range. But I didn't know he had this kind of range and this kind of just comedic impact in every shot that he's in.
He's hilarious. Yeah.
He-
Surprisingly so.
He has like gestures that he makes. There's like a bit in the when he's like insane in the cell, and he does like a finger point at Max, and I couldn't stop laughing just because of this one little motion he does.
Dude,
It was
yeah.
amazing.
There was another moment like I was in a pretty packed theater, and the moment where she wakes up in the trunk that he makes her get into on this ship, and she locks herself into the bathroom after he's like his immediate thing is like, oh, we're on a boat now, let's have sex. And it's like fucking like fuck this guy, everybody hates this guy. And then she locks herself in the room, and he just lies on the bed and pouts the most hilarious pout I've ever fucking
Yeah.
seen. It is so funny, and everyone in the theater thought so too. It was a big laugh for our theater.
Yeah, me and Matt were. I mean, we didn't. There was almost. We went at like noon. There was almost nobody in our theater. There was a handful of people, but I mean, we were cracking up. Other people were laughing. And one scene I want to highlight too is, man, I was just thinking in my fucking brain. I was like, fucking move over Wednesday, because that dance scene
Oh, the dance.
yeah.
was
Oh, yeah.
wonderful, and I love the character of Duncan is he's a shitty character, but he's also fun to watch,
Yes,
because
yeah.
he's pondering about it, like, how are you getting in my fucking brain, and like, why is this upsetting me? And this crazy music comes on, and she's just like, fucking, I'm gonna go for it, and does this crazy dance, and he just jumps
Yeah.
in there too,
Yeah.
and them together
He
in
matches
that
her energy.
moment it's so fun, it's so fucking hilarious. And the fact that it was so janky, like this music or this choppy music, I love that scene. It was an amazing scene. And yeah, Mark Ruffalo, he killed it. He killed it. Absolutely.
I
Really
don't know
good.
that there was a bad performance in this movie, or even like
Yeah,
no.
a middling one. Everybody did not only service their role, but serviced it really fucking well. Even
Did-
down to the bit characters. Some of those bit characters were, or not bit characters, that's not right, but like some of the supporting cast, like with such little time, like that mustache twirling villain, man, it doesn't take but like 1 fucking minute for you to
Yeah.
realize, oh, this is the biggest piece of shit in the movie.
Yeah.
Somehow, yeah.
Yeah.
That Willem Dafoe bit with like he like burps those huge
Oh my
bubbles
God, yeah,
got
the
me
bubbles.
so
Oh my
fucking
God.
good.
When they did
Cracked
it
me
kind of
up.
like halfway off camera and you just have the
Yes.
audio, it's so funny.
Yes, I
Yeah.
love it.
The bubbles were good. I also, speaking of supporting cast, I loved the woman who ran the brothel.
Yeah.
She's incredible. If you haven't seen The Tragedy of Macbeth, the one with Denzel Washington that one of the Coen brothers did, she plays the witches in that.
Cool.
And she plays all three, but she's one person like the whole time,
Hmm.
and it's
Mhm.
it's insane. She's like a contortionist. I'm pretty sure she came from like a theater background,
Oh,
but she is phenomenal. And getting to see her in a role like that was a lot of fun.
Cool.
And she had her own
She
quirk,
sure
right,
likes
which was-
earlobes.
Yeah, she likes to bite earlobes.
she was tatted up. I
Yeah.
like that. It was just
Yeah,
another
yeah.
aesthetic style that grounded it like to the brothel, but was also like very just interesting and her tat had the bit of texture with the tattoos, and I don't know, it's just she was good.
Yeah,
She
hell
was
yeah.
good.
Yeah, there's some good stuff in there.
Are there any other major topics we want to hit on before we
Land
start
plane.
wrapping this thing up?
I'm sure we could go on and
Um,
on. There's a
yeah,
lot of stuff.
probably.
But yeah.
Lots to talk about.
Okay, well, let's go ahead and wrap it up. Land that plane. So we're gonna rate this movie out of 5. If you guys have any other final points you want to work in, feel free to do so. Franklin, would you care to kick us off out of 5?
Out of 5, I haven't ever like given a film.
Yeah. You can abstain if you would prefer not to.
Ooh, shoot.
Gotta protect your reputation,
Exactly.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm trying to
You
make
You got
it
a
in
career
this
to think
industry. I
about,
don't
my
wanna start
dude.
making
We are not
enemies.
going to have a career after
Yorgos
this.
is like, oh, that son of a bitch only gave it
Oh.
4 stars out of 5.
I'll get you, Franklin.
If the film isn't 4.5, it's definitely 4. It was hard to find anything like to dislike about this film. Even if at times I did feel very uncomfortable. There are a couple scenes we didn't really talk about that, but there are a few moments. I don't even necessarily know if like it's cool to mention, but it might be too spoilery. But there were a few moments where I was like, "Whoa! I sure hope he didn't do that in real life." But that involved like children.
Oh,
Yeah,
the
I,
children
yeah.
scene, yeah.
But otherwise, thoroughly enjoyed this film. Phenomenal performances all around. Incredible production design, sets, and direction. Can't wait to see what Yorgos does next.
Yeah.
We'll say 4 to 4.5.
You can go
4.25?
4.25.
4.25.
Let's split the difference.
All right. I
There's-
hope that's good enough for your ghost, man. He's out there listening.
Demon.
You just
I know
made
he
the
listens
list.
every week. He's a Patreon subscriber.
Only at the $1
Not
level.
anymore. Not anymore.
No,
Yeah.
we need that dollar.
Randeezy, how you feel out of 5?
Yeah, I mean, I feel largely the same. I don't know that like I am curious, and it is kind of, unfortunate that we are all dudes here, because I would love to actually hear somebody with lived experience as a woman.
Think
Talk about
Caitlin
how
will be covering it eventually.
That's what I
Yes,
thought.
yes,
I was
Okay.
going to ask. So, like, keep an ear out for our friend Caitlin on the Plug It Up podcast, who may, it sounds like, do an episode or do some discussion on this. I'm sure there's quite a few out there, and I'm going to be listening, because that's kind of like the only like real blind spot I think I have with this movie is I don't want to like ascribe too much weight to things without having that experience of myself, but within the bounds of my own brain and how I experienced this movie. Like, this conversation has certainly solidified for me how much I did enjoy it. I enjoyed it a lot. I was sitting by myself though, and sometimes the thoughts kind of like bounce around your head afterwards, and you wonder like, wow, that was pretty good. Was it great? I don't know, but like just talking through all of the pros, and just so few cons. The only con is kind of the one that I talked about with Justin there, which is the like sort of late introduction that sort of threw me, and made it feel like I was like, man, I kind of wish this was set up a little differently, or a little bit earlier, or a little bit stronger in advance. But like the end result of it is so strong that I totally get why it's there. It needs kind of needs to be there for a lot of these sort of like heady points that we're talking about. So yeah, that's kind of my only bigger gripe, and it's all automatically sort of like undercut. And that complaint is automatically a little bit undercut itself. So it's hard for me not to give this a 4.5. I'm just going to go for it. Give it a 4.5. I'm pretty stingy with my fives as well, and I want to give this a few years before I, say that it's an all-time classic that's up there with the best movies I've ever seen. So 4.5 for me.
Right on. 4.5 from Rand. DZ. Juice. What about you?
Yeah, I liked a lot about this film. I liked the development over time, changing with the characters. I liked that each style felt natural and just put me in a different place with this character, but also felt like a cohesive film. I just love the characters. Mark Ruffalo is cracking me up. Even Emma Stone did a fantastic job. Just her speech development over time was really fantastic. And just how some of these characters are, I don't know, it's just refreshing to see that even when it was negative and toxic, that there was some things that were kind of positive that I've just never seen in that like films do, at least not often. And altogether it was like really refreshing. I love that fucking dancing. That has just lived in my fucking brain since I saw this movie. All the scenes in Portugal were just really fun and fantastical and whimsical. The brothel scenes were really thought-provoking and like really just kind of started made me like think a lot more and stuff. It was a good experience. Really just to get my biggest critique is that the choppiness of it. I think because the rest of the film is constructed so well, it just stood out even more, and so for that, and giving it a little time to kind of like reflect on some things. It could be some recency bias as well, just having such a good experience in the theater and everything like that, and being like pretty surprised by it. I didn't know much about it going in. I'm going to give it a 4.5 as well. Yeah.
Right
Bob,
on.
out of 5.
Step into line, Bob.
I'll murder you on Twitter if you don't.
Oh shit.
Holy shit.
Murder is legal on Twitter again.
What are you going to give for things?
Yeah, I really enjoyed this movie. It felt kind of refreshing in a way that it was like so incredibly sexual, but it seemed to, for the most part, sort of avoid that like real heavy male gaze in a way that I think a lot of people probably wouldn't have been able to do. So it kind of, I don't know, it felt fresh in that way to me. The cinematography and the way the movie is constructed is just beautiful. These performances are fantastic from some really gifted actors. And they're giving performances that you haven't really seen them do before. So it's sort of refreshing in that way as well. You're like, wow, I didn't really expect this to come from like Emma Stone and Mark Ruffalo necessarily, but I think they really hit it out of the park. I totally expect this from Willem fucking Dafoe, and he did knock it out of the park.
Big Dick Defoe does it again.
Yeah, with all the dicks in this movie, that's minus a half a point right there, because we didn't see that Defoe dick. We saw like 8 to 10 other dicks. I think the soundtrack is really wild and interesting in this movie. It's got these like otherworldly kind of sounds that really match these wild sets that they build. It just feels very fantastical and like, I don't know, energetic. The music is super cool. It's a hella dark movie, and at the same time it's super fucking hilarious. So it does this really interesting balance of tone, and I think it strikes both really quite well. I mean, it starts off with a pregnant woman committing suicide. Like, it doesn't get much bleaker than that, but you're still like laughing your ass off throughout several parts of this movie. So it might feel a bit rushed in the end, but overall it doesn't bother me too much. And this is one that I really would like to rewatch somewhat soon, because I'm sure that I missed some stuff in it. So yeah, I'm gonna follow suit with a 4.5 on this. I quite enjoyed it. And that's going to put our aggregate at a 4.4. And gotcha! Franklin, do you want to provide your phone number or email address for Yorgos to get in contact with?
Yes. Come at me, Yorgos.
Put it in the show notes below.
Yes.
By the way, I loved The Favorite. I thought his favorite was honestly no pun intended. Yeah. No, I really did. And like I'm really excited for Yorgos as a filmmaker. As someone who loved Dogtooth, admittedly didn't like The Lobster, and also admittedly didn't see the what's the other one?
Sacred Deer. I
Sacred,
really
Sacred
like
Deer.
that movie.
I've heard great things, and I do
Mhm.
need to watch it. But I thought The Favorite was phenomenal,
Mm.
and Poor Things as well. So I'm really excited to see what he does next. I hope he does more happy endings too. Like that was a
Sure.
pleasant surprise. Because normally his films usually end pretty
They
dark.
Mhm.
yeah.
So no, but truly, I'm really excited to see what he does next.
Heck yeah. Right on. Yeah, our aggregate's 4.4. Let's go ahead and jump into our Rotten Tomatoes segment, see what the critics and users have to say.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is the Rotten Tomatoes segment of the show in which I'm going to have these gentlemen guess within the best of their abilities what the aggregate positive score is on Rotten Tomatoes. And we're going to do both critics and users. We're going to start with the critics as we always do. And there are 309 critical reviews on Rotten Tomatoes for this film. Has nobody's seen the Rotten Tomatoes for this recently?
No.
Okay, that's good.
No.
Okay, great. So let's start with our esteemed guest, Franklin.
Oh,
There were 309 critical reviews here. What percentage of those?
309.
309. There's a lot of reviews
Wow,
for this
that's
one.
really high.
That's high. I
okay.
mean,
it is a lot
yeah.
of reviews, yeah.
So Franklin, what do you think that the aggregate positive score is for those 309 reviews?
And so this
What
is
percentage is positive?
Okay,
Out of
so,
100.
so it's either a thumbs up or a thumbs down. That's what it
Yeah.
comes down to.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I want to
Yeah,
guess.
so if they give it the thumbs up, it's percentage of people who said that.
Gotcha. I'm actually going to guess pretty close to what we were sort of hitting,
Mm.
which I want to say 93%.
Okay.
That's my guess.
93%.
For
All right.
critics, this is critics, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Critics.
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah, correct. And we'll go to Bob next. Bob, 93 is your benchmark here. Where are you going? Over, under?
Yeah, I think it's going to be pretty
Uh,
high. I do think this is going to be like a critical darling. I could see some folks in the theater being like, "What the fuck is this movie that I walked into?" So I think critics are going to be higher here. Maybe not quite 93%, but not much lower. I'll play it somewhat safe with an even 90.
Ooh.
Even 90. All right. Juice, round us out. You going above?
Yeah, I
middle,
think I'll just
somewhere in
make
between?
Franklin the Sammy here, and I'll go a little bit higher,
Ooh.
and just maybe I'm terrible at math, but maybe we can tie in some capacity between the three of us. I'm gonna give a 96% then.
96. All right. Well, gentlemen, one of you is just 1 percentage point off from the ringy dingy, the perfect score. The correct percentage of positive reviews is 94%. Our esteemed guest, Franklin, is going to take this one.
No, you got it.
Oh, was it 90? Oh, 94.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
94, yeah.
So it was
I thought you were going
90
for that.
It was
Sorry.
94%?
Yeah.
94%. That is
Nice.
certified fresh to death.
Damn.
Well
And,
done,
uh,
Yorgos. Well
damn.
done.
Yeah.
Nice.
Not bad at all. And maybe there is some Oscar talks to be had real soon. All right, let's move over
I
to our
forgot what
critics.
number I said.
I was like, that's like you.
Good guess. Oh, wait.
Juice, I thought you were gonna go 95. I was like, oh, it's gonna be a split. It's gonna be a
Oh,
split.
shit, yeah.
You got bold on me. Actually,
I had to
before
go
we
my
move on, I'm
favorite sexual position, 96, you know.
gonna- butt to back of
Everybody.
head. We know
Yeah.
you love it.
That's what I like.
Out of my head. Yes.
I'm actually going to read the critics' consensus before we move on because we have both today. The critics' consensus reads as follows: wildly imaginative and exhilaratingly over the top, Poor Things is a bizarre, brilliant tour de force for director Yorgos Lanthimos and star Emma Stone. I think that's all reasonably fair.
Yeah, it was coming up on the Slack a lot too. I think Nate one day was like, "Oh, I'm gonna watch the wrestling movie Iron Claw or Poor Things." He wanted to go see Poor Things. Everybody was like, "Go see Poor Things, Poor Things, Poor Things," and like everybody seemed really pleased on the Slack. Like everybody seemed really pleased overall.
That's a real good 1-2 punch of movies, by the way.
Yeah.
that came out.
Yeah, I need to see Iron
Fucking
Claw,
incredible.
by the way.
It's good. I don't think it's as good as this, though, if I'm going to be honest with you.
Oh, there
And
you
that
go.
takes a lot for me to say that because I have a wrestling bias.
Yes.
We're going to move on to our audience score. There are over 500 verified ratings for this film so far. We're going to go in the reverse order now and start with Juice. What do you think that those audiences are going to give this film?
Yeah, I definitely think this is going to drop off a little bit. How many people did it on the audience? How many was it?
500 plus.
500 plus. Okay, this is going to be lower, but I don't know. It seems like people are still really responding positively to it. So I'll drop it just a scotch, and I'll say 86. Take the Boys
86.
Project 86.
The
please.
project. All right.
Yes.
All right. Bob, how about you? Where are you coming in on this one?
I will go 86. I'll take 90 again.
90.
Stand
Wow.
firm.
Let's get crazy.
That is insane. Bob.
Yeah.
All right, Franklin, why don't you round us out? Where are you going with this one?
I am gonna go a little bit lower just because I think there were a lot of men that walked into the theater
Oh,
that
no.
were really disappointed that Willem Dafoe didn't show his dick. So
Bob.
You wanna
Guilty.
see my ding dong?
oh, well done. That was on point.
It's an artist with those bumps.
Yeah, this is some smooth bumps there. I'm gonna go ahead and go with 80. I'm gonna do
80,
solid
all right.
80.
Well, boys, again, we have
Holy
1
shit.
point from Glory here.
Damn.
And honestly, I think the Glory is going to be pretty high already because this is 81%. Franklin's going to sweep.
What the fuck?
Things, whoa.
Beginner's
Fucking
luck.
dead eye over here. Jesus Christ.
I'm never coming back
Um,
on the podcast.
Retire with that
Yeah,
high
exactly.
score.
Put
I
one
guess
on
it makes
my head.
sense. If you make films, you're probably paying pretty close attention to Rotten Tomato scores.
Funny enough, I'm really not. I wasn't like I don't have a letterbox still, and I hadn't really paid much attention to Rotten Tomatoes until our film came out, and then it was just like I guess I just have to just check it every day. But
Yeah.
Did it go up?
but I don't pay attention to and I haven't looked at ours in almost a year now, or I guess like months. But so I don't know what to compare it to, which is probably like bad. I should.
Well,
I
let's
should
do that
probably-
one next. No, just
Oh,
kidding.
oh, God!
Oh, God.
Franklin, what do you think your
It's
movie
dropped
is?
down to 20. Oh no. No, so I don't really know like what is sort of the standard. I feel like I do know that the critic scores are usually a lot higher than the audience scores, because the audience scores consist of all of like
Yeah.
the Snyder Cut people and all that.
Yeah,
It depends. Yeah, you'd be surprised.
That's a
Sometimes
whole
it
guy.
goes other ways. Yeah.
the Snyder
Yeah.
Cut guy.
Yeah.
It depends.
Honestly,
which
we
by
have
the
not
way,
broken the code.
for all the Snyder Cut people out there, I love you guys. That was. I'm one of you. I love Watchmen so much, man. So please don't hate me. And
Be sure to look up Artifice Girl.
Oh,
Rotten
no!
Tomatoes
Oh,
will give a
God!
Positive review.
As long as you don't
Um,
piss off the Swifties, we're okay.
Right.
Yeah.
They
The
listen to
Swifties,
our
the
show.
K-poppers, those are the
I-
folks
yeah,
that you
yeah.
gotta watch out for. I'm told.
death threats are coming in right.
Yep. So quickly, the audience says for this, the summary from the audience is Poor Things is a weird a weird, wild, good time, and Emma Stone is fantastic in it. Just be prepared for adult themes that may unsettle or offend some viewers. I think that's fair.
Mm.
Grandma can stay at Cracker Barrel. We've
Yeah,
discussed
yeah.
this.
how many
yeah,
people do you think like that did go to see Poor Things? Do you think there was anybody like that? Some wonderful like wholesome Christian moms that like went in thinking that they were gonna go watch like another. Yeah, like they saw, what was it, the movie The Help,
Yeah.
with Emma Stone,
Oh.
and then
Green
I
Book
like Emma
fans.
Stone.
They
Green
were
Book
like,
fan
oh,
69
yes.
on Instant Messenger.
69. Yeah.
Well, she has a wild side. Yeah. So we're gonna round this out
is
real quick with
hot. Says grandma.
we're gonna
watching Poor Things.
yeah. This is sexy.
The Hulk is looking good.
Oh my lord.
We're going to round this out with, as we usually do, reading 1 or 2 negative reviews because sometimes they're very, very funny. And also sometimes they're not at all. They're just lame. Here we go. Reading blindly. Yorgos Lanthimos makes peculiar films. Emma Stone's character acts like a toddler, and she is unfiltered like a toddler. That's where the humor comes from. But she discovers sex.
Oh.
But she discovers sex, and it's from a male point of view. It is icky if you think about it. I don't know, man. I mean, it is definitively from a male point of view because he made the movie, but
True.
No, he brings up a good point there though. Because Yorgos is a man. That's probably what he meant, I'm assuming. Is what he meant, that it was from a male's perspective, trying to capture sex from a female
Right.
perspective.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
that's a totally valid. What's his name? And
her name,
oh, no.
Lynn Bin House from KTRS Radio, St. Louis.
Oh,
So,
you know
thank
that's
you,
just
Lynn.
some dude.
Maybe.
No,
You got
that's one of the
catfish.
more coherent negative reviews
Yeah.
we've read on here.
Yeah.
I'm gonna try and I didn't pre-read these, so if they're lame, then I'm sorry. But here we go. The verdict is sad but unavoidable. Poor Things is a 141-minute mistake.
Damn.
Oh no.
Jeez.
Mistake. Jesus.
So fucking up its own ass. I love it.
Is that it? Oh, that was
That's
it.
it.
That's all it said.
That's all. Oh yeah, that
Oh.
they just do blurbs on here, so I don't dig any deeper because why would I? Yeah. So there we go. That's our Rotten Tomatoes segment. Bob, I don't know if there's any trivia for such a new movie. What do you got?
Quite a bit, actually. Yeah,
Nice.
let's get
Oh
into
shit!
it.
All right, let's go for it.
It's totally time for trivia.
All right, y'all. So yeah, I found quite a lot of trivia. Let's get into it. So development on this movie began as early as 2009 when Lanthimos went to Scotland to discuss with the author of Poor Things, Alasdair Gray, about the acquisition to the rights to his novel. He quote said about Alasdair, he was a very lovely man. Unfortunately, he died just a couple years before we actually made the film. The novel by the same name came out in the year 1992. So the author did not get a chance to watch the movie, which is unfortunate.
It's too bad.
Just like God at the end of the film. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does he die at the end of the movie?
He does.
Okay, good. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was gonna say that,
Oh,
and
good.
everyone was like, he
No,
survived.
yeah, no, he's dead.
Okay, yeah.
God is
He's in
dead.
the sequel. Poor
God
Things
is
2.
dead.
Holy
God is
shit.
back.
God.
God returns.
Damn.
People are waiting on that one. A
Well,
lot of
that's coming out
anticipation for that one.
2024. You know, the resurrection of Christ or whatever.
Yeah,
God
it's
wins.
happening.
All
All the signs are there.
Mark Ruffalo had a lot of doubts about his performance during the shoot. He often half joked that his buddy Oscar Isaac, who was filming on a nearby soundstage, was going to be called over to replace him.
Oh,
One day, Willem Dafoe pranked Ruffalo by taking him to a room where Isaac, who was in on the joke, was hanging out waiting, and Isaac and Dafoe informed Ruffalo he was indeed fired.
Oh no.
because you know that comes from like
No, not again.
a real place of
Yeah,
self-doubt.
yeah,
yeah,
Oh,
absolutely.
I'm glad that
Ruffalo
I
seems
hope
like a
gets lot
real
of praise.
dude.
He
to
does.
me.
Yeah, he
Yeah,
really
like,
does.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I wanna
he feels
hang
like
out
a
with
real
him.
just guy. Yeah. Let's
Yeah,
hang
man.
out with that guy.
Let's get him on the
Emma
cast.
Stone. Let's call him up.
Yeah, yeah. I'll get on the
Mark!
Hey,
Marky!
my boy.
Straight chilling, boys. You know.
phone.
You know, you don't have to say
and
anything more.
then he's like, "Oh, the straight chilling boys, Yorgos hates you."
What's with this 4 1/4 bull?
Yep,
I wish
that's
I could
us.
come on the show, but you're blackballed over here.
I could be killed for talking to you. Let's move on.
Emma Stone said, quote, "It's such a fairy tale and a metaphor, clearly, that can't actually happen, but the idea that you could start anew as a woman, as this body that's already formed and sees everything for the first time and try to understand the nature of sexuality or power or money or choice, the ability to make choices and live by your own rules and not society's, I thought was a really fascinating world to go into," which I think we all agree with that.
Yeah.
I think that tracks.
Yorgos Lanthimos received an 8-minute standing ovation at the world premiere during 2023 Venice Film Festival. None of the stars could attend due to the SAG-AFTRA strike, which is a bummer. But fucking 8 minutes, man, that's
Nice.
Yeah, they do that now. I don't understand.
that's
We're gonna keep going.
It's like the
Yeah,
State of the
my hands
Union
would be
address. They
higher
just
for 8 minutes. God damn.
your fingers are bleeding and shit. Oh god, it's
My
so good.
appreciation.
It's so good. Yorgos first approached Alasdair Gray about adopting Poor Things in 2009. Gray took Lanthimos on a personal tour of Glasgow and showed Lanthimos the locations he included in the novel. Lanthimos said he was a very lovely man. And then that's another quote that I already said for some reason here. Oh, apparently he was 80 years old when they met.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
And as soon as they got there, he brought up Dogtooth, And he said, I had my friend put the DVD in the player because I don't know how to operate the things, but you're very talented.
Oh, that's like the
The sweetest thing ever.
sweetest.
It's a real good DVD case.
Oh,
being honest.
Very nice. Sounds like a
When's
very nice
the
movie.
VHS coming
The Betamax. Bella's character design was partially inspired by Egon Schiele's 1911 painting called Nude Girl Standing with Long Black Hair and Blue Black Drape. I meant to look that up and I forgot to, so you can look it up if you'd like at home. Lanthimos worked closely with costume designer Holly Waddington in order to reflect Bella's growth and development through her wardrobe. From the more puffy silhouettes of her childlike era to the nearly corseted gown she's wearing at the climax of the movie. A lot of production was inspired by genitalia. For example, the phallic windows outside the brothel and a shirt the costume department designed to be yonic.
Well, the closing credits had a lot of that. The end credits had a lot of like the architecture or stuff that would like either look like a penis or vagina. It was beautiful. Like the credits at the beginning and at the end were great. I loved how they were.
Like nothing I'd ever smelled before in my life.
Indeed.
Well,
I got two more little bits. According to cinematographer Robbie Ryan, Francis Ford Coppola's Bram Stoker's Dracula served as
Stroker,
Mr. Stroker himself served as the main source of inspiration to everyone making the picture, and that movie was referred to more than most. That's
Interesting.
interesting.
Yeah.
That is
I
interesting.
I could see a little bit of that.
Also, isn't it funny that Yorgos Lanthimos? It sounds like the most like very very like foreign film
Yeah.
indie auteur.
Yeah.
And his cinematographer is Robbie Ryan.
Robbie Ryan.
My boy Bob Ryan.
Bob Ryan.
On the camera.
Yeah, get the skateboard lens, Bob. What's that fisheye lens?
Yeah.
Put that on. We're gonna shoot the suitcase scene. That's how Yorgos.
You ever seen
talked.
Jackass? Oh, hell yeah. The last bit I have here is this is the first feature film to be partially shot on Kodiak 35mm Ektachrome color reversal motion picture film stock.
Oh.
Tight. I didn't realize it was shot on 35,
I didn't either. Wow.
at least partially. So that
Good job, Robbie. Seriously, I'm sorry we made fun of your name.
My boy Robbie.
my boy Bob. There's nothing wrong with the name Bob.
Well, you don't like it.
No, I don't, but it was forced upon me. Here we are.
You carry that burden.
I am on the cross every day.
Damn.
All right.
Jesus Christ.
That's all the trivia I got. Let's go ahead and jump into our cooter of the week.
Straight chillin'. Cooter of the week.
Juice, what is a cooter and why do we hunt them?
Yeah, what the fuck is this segment?
We would not
Dude.
tell Franklin before what was going on.
Oh, you'll
So we're just
find
like,
out.
"What's in this kind of segment. You'll find
This is
out."
my favorite thing when we have a new guest on. It's like, let's see how long it takes for them to kind of freak out about what we're doing here.
And you were looking at me, like looking at the two of them.
Yeah.
You guys were avoiding eye contact. I'm
This
like,
behind the scenes is going to be great for that. I
This
just
is
like,
where the show
looks to my
gets
right, this guy's
weird.
jamming. To the left, this guy's
Well.
totally jamming. All right.
Cooter is a character type and a straight chillin' excludes. Cooter must hit 3 of these 5 points to be considered a cooter, but we want the cooter with the most points. The 5 points of cooterdom are sexual deviance, manipulation, smug arrogance, overall look and attire, and overall patheticness. Boys, I think we got a few cooters in this movie.
Barrel of cooters.
Barrel.
Oh my
So
god.
we start at the top with
Guys,
Shaboy
Why not?
Mark Ruffalo, aka Duncan.
Yes.
Yeah.
I
Overall
mean,
patheticness hits
It's
hard
pretty
because he has a
pathetic.
mental
Shot.
breakdown when she breaks up with him. He ends, yeah.
a spectacular mental breakdown.
Yes, it was fantastic to watch.
Shouting at the window and all, like it was, and I loved like their sort of references to like a lot of those kind of classic sort of tropes of characters
Yeah.
doing that.
Mhm.
But Mark
Mhm.
Ruffalo still has this amazing spin on it, where he adds this just sort of like human patheticness. It's so brilliant to watch.
Because he has these moments where he's still kind of like coming in and out of his old self, and that's maybe the smug arrogance comes in. He's certainly
Yeah.
very smug.
Very.
I was looking for the quote. They don't have a lot of quotes right now for Mark Ruffalo online right now, but there was this one moment after they had sex and he's laying in bed and he's just like talking about what a good lover he is or something like that. He says something hilarious. And so yes, very
I'm an executive by day and a wild man by night.
That's what he says.
Yeah, that's what he says.
Nailed it.
Smug arrogance. Also, too, that moment too when he's acting like a fuckboy and he's like, "Oh, I'm just gonna leave you in a few months anyways. I'll just get tired of you." It's like, God damn, dude,
Yeah.
just up his own ass.
Manipulation.
Yeah.
Check.
Oh yeah,
So much.
He puts her
He
in a
convinces-
box.
kidnapped.
Puts,
Yeah,
puts her in a box. That's
yeah.
exactly right.
Not even like, let me blindfold you and walk you to somewhere. He
Look.
puts her in a box.
And she's not like cognizant that that's a dangerous or untoward
Yeah,
thing
she's
to
like,
do.
all right, yeah,
Yeah.
Manipulative. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. His whole game is manipulation.
Yeah.
He manipulates her into leaving with him, like everything. Like it's all about his money and his access to stuff and his interest in doing the one thing that she is very not the one thing, but one of the things that she's very curious about, which is sex. So it's like he just kind of manipulates top to bottom, even down to the end. His very last act as a character is bringing in her ex-husband
Yeah.
to be fucking sadist to take revenge on her for him.
Out of spite, he
Pathetic
gets nothing out of
coward.
it, just for
Yeah.
spite at that
Yeah.
point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I do also want to mention he has this. I mean, he's got a lot of great quotes in it. One that I loved standing out. I couldn't remember exactly what it is, so I had to look it up. I will supplement for the C word. He uses the C word very creatively, and I will supplement it for the word crunch. But he says he calls a character "you crunchy crunch face dipshit," which is so fun and creative.
Dude,
I
Damn.
loved
It's-
that. Loved that line.
Well,
This
that
movie is
leads to
not-
the patheticness too. Watching him get so insecure when she's like hanging out with somebody else or reading a book.
Yeah.
You know, just on the when they're in the place he kidnapped her to, and then she's like, "Oh, I've got some friends" or whatever. He's just, I guess that's manipulation too. He's trying to control her. So yeah.
Yeah.
it's
And
all
he-
pettiness, which is a ghost category for the Cooter in my book.
When he
but
throws the book off,
Yeah.
off the ship, and she just hands.
he tries to
her
throw the
another-
lady off the ship, and it's a
He does, he
hilariously
does.
lackluster attempt.
He's just trying to throw all his problems off the ship, including the old lady, which is great.
I'd give him a tire too because he gets kind of sloppy towards the end.
Towards the end, when he
That's
hits
a-
all his money.
Yeah, that's everything. He hits all.
Yeah,
five.
he hits all five. He's
Yeah.
a top tier Cooter.
strong.
Top
He is.
tier.
He's hitting a lot of sands. A lot of
We got
Jeremiah
another
Sands.
one, I believe.
Your
Maybe
boy-
more than one, but the I don't even know
Alfie?
the character's name.
Your boy Alfie.
Yeah, Alfie, the
Alfie.
ex-husband or the husband, whatever.
The
So
guy whose
manipulation.
staff
He,
wants to overthrow.
yeah, he just intimidates everyone with a gun.
With the gun that
pretty
he
much.
just constantly has in his hand and he
He
uses
just
as
waves
like
around. Why wouldn't they kill him in his
Yeah.
sleep? I mean, come on.
I don't know, man. But the
That
sexual
scene
deviancy
too-
is the. I'm sorry. Go
Yeah.
ahead.
Oh yeah, go ahead. You go ahead with the sexual deviancy.
Well, just for the sexual deviance, I mean the genital mutilation
yeah,
certainly
Yeah.
qualifies on a
This'll
pretty
fix
high
you right
level,
up.
a pretty fucking awful high level on that.
Yeah.
Manipulation. I mean, he's like holding her prisoner.
Hostage. You'll hang out here for about a year before I let you walk around or something.
Yeah.
It's a very basic form of manipulation, but he's just threatening to shoot her if he doesn't do everything he says rather. It's like, well, you know,
yeah.
I'll just shoot you if you don't do that. So I've
Well,
got
the
a gun.
basic
I'm gonna
another
shoot you.
fucked up manipulation is when he's telling that woman to come in with the hot soup. He's like, yeah.
Oh my
Oh,
god,
And then
yeah.
he makes the dog bark and she spills the soup all over or whatever. Son of a
Fuck
bitch.
God, they make this guy so hateable.
Yeah. Pathetic. He's a goat in the end.
Yeah, that's pretty
He
pathetic.
winds up pretty fucking pathetic.
Yeah.
He was a goat the whole time, in fairness, but he's
There you
an
go.
extra goat at the end.
And
looking at
then
Tyre,
he might not hit that one.
Yeah.
No, he looks stately for his time.
Yeah.
I don't see any
All
cause for
right.
alarm.
So he's not as high as old Mark Ruffalo, but he hits enough.
Pretty high. Yeah.
I think
Yeah,
if he was
he's
in the
enough.
movie a little longer, we would have gotten there, though.
Probably. Is there anyone else to consider?
Oh man,
No,
I don't
think
know.
so.
Actually, I think most of the other people are relatively thoughtful or
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
Or we don't get a lot of depth like
Or the-
people in the brothel, maybe. You know,
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. They would. That's probably the most likely place you would see that
yeah,
if they.
But we don't-
You know what? I'm just gonna go ahead and like blanket throw the guy who brings his kids in there.
Yeah.
That's a cooter move, dude.
yeah,
Don't love
Yeah.
that, and I know that's what you were referring to earlier.
Yeah.
Franklin, but yeah, it's,
Let the boys watch.
I
damn,
don't know about that shit. That's
Yeah.
beyond.
yeah.
That's beyond
They did- I
cooterdom.
did
That's in
see-
criminality of some kind.
I at least saw some blurb or something where obviously those kids were not shot
Right.
in that scene.
Yeah,
It was,
yeah.
I mean, they cut back and forth.
Movie
obviously,
magic,
so yeah,
yeah.
whoa,
Mhm.
so just want to go ahead and point that out there in case
Yes.
anybody's getting all riled up about it.
No, this is not
but
a
yeah.
Salo situation.
I think. Oof. I think we got. Yeah, I think we got our cooters, boys.
I think so.
All
think so.
right,
Lock
good
'em
job.
up.
Lock them up.
All right. It's time to kick our feet up, let our hair down, talk about what we've been watching this week.
Hey, gang, what you been watching?
Franklin, what you been watching, man?
You knew this is the whole reason I came on to this podcast, was to talk about Chicken Run 2.
Hell
yeah.
Dawn of the Nugget, which I thought was terrific. I haven't watched a whole lot of stuff recently. I've been busy in the holidays and whatnot. But I will say, like, I thoroughly enjoyed Chicken Run 2. For some reason I started watching the My Adventures with Superman TV show, which I
Oh,
thoroughly
nice.
enjoyed. I really liked kind of what they were doing with the whole Clark Kent Lois Lane dynamic. I thought that was good. And then I do want to shout out, I guess it's not technically a movie, but I did find it really fascinating. It's a I guess it's like a short film on YouTube. But it's by a man named Connor O'Malley, who's great. I don't know. if you've seen
Connor,
it.
I love
Yeah,
Connor.
yeah. He's great. He has a thing out on YouTube called The Mask, which is this brilliant, like, kind of rabbit hole sort of it's only like maybe half an hour long, but it clearly took years for him to make. I assume because it like has this whole sort of like I don't know how to explain it. I kind of just want to say just go and watch it. It's really fascinating. There's some terrific, like, unsettling, uncanny moments where you're kind of questioning if this is real or not. But it's brilliant. So I would say check that out. And yeah, I guess that's it. That's what I've been watching.
That's a
Nice.
great pull.
Randy, is that the dude you showed me when you were here? We watched that video on YouTube about the boat that he makes. Is that the same
Oh
guy?
no,
That's a different guy?
That's Fingers. What's his name?
Oh, okay.
Something. I
Something
don't know. That's a
fingers.
whole different. Fucking what's his name? Bobby Fingers. That's his
Bobby,
name.
yeah.
That's a great.
It's
YouTube
nothing wrong
channel
with the
as
name
well.
Bob.
But no, Connor O'Malley is like he's like a UCB guy. I saw him
Oh,
on the
okay.
Chris Gethard show way back in the day, and I think he wrote for like Kimmel or one of those guys for a while.
Probably,
But-
yeah.
That the mask thing, like, it definitely was built over years because he would like slow drip some of the footage of that on his like Instagrams and stuff for a while. I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty confident because he definitely he plays the best psychotic dirtbag in the business in my
He
book.
does.
So
He does. Yeah, he's brilliant at that. And you're right. Like it takes a long time to slowly build this character over time, which is fascinating to watch. It takes so much dedication. It seems like just so haphazard, like a kind of Sacha Baron Cohen kind of thing. But he's clearly like very like he takes his time and he doesn't rush it.
There's one, I don't think it was in the same character, but it was a similar character where he's like doing amateur coverage of the porn convention or whatever, that's like the porn awards, and he's going around asking people, oh, what's your favorite like titty suck scene or whatever, and then he gets a text that is like granddad died or something, and he's just very
Yeah.
depressed at the porn
Damn.
convention.
That's his brand 100%. He's always like some crazy douchebag that has to confront like something really real and tragic, and it's brilliant.
Fucking hilarious. Great pull.
And if you've never seen the show Joe Pera Talks to You, he's on that show.
Oh,
He's brilliant on that.
Joe
That's one of
Pera's
my favorite shows of
incredible.
all time. If nothing else, take that as a rec. Joe
Cool.
Pera Talks to You on Adult Swim.
Right.
Agreed on all fronts.
Randy, what you been watching?
Yeah, I'll jump. I actually also don't have a lot to talk about. I think I mentioned this already, but I'm still working through an indie game called Kentucky Route Zero, which is
Oh,
by
yeah.
Annapurna Interactive. Have you played this?
I have not finished it, but I played a
Oh.
little bit of it way back in the day, like when it came out.
Gotcha. I really like this Annapurna Interactive group. That's why I grabbed this. And I'm enjoying it. It's very bizarre, and it's very much like a means to tell a story. And I'm about halfway through. I want to say maybe a little further. It's not like it's one of those games that's like not fun to sit and play. Like the actual gameplay is not fun and its own merits, but it's like the storytelling is what keeps you going, and that's what it's really all about. So I'm kind of reserving my final judgment on it until I see where it's going with all this. But it's a very bizarre, sort of like dreamlike little tale about a guy trying to deliver something on a Kentucky highway that doesn't exist exactly. It's kind of tough to describe. Anyway, still working through that. And then the only other thing that I really put my teeth into this week was finally, like I think I mentioned this last week, started on Fargo season 5, and I am caught up. I'm ready for the finale. I'm very psyched about it. Everybody I've ever respected in when it comes to media has been talking up the Fargo series since its inception, and I'm happy to finally get one under my belt. And goddamn, is John Hamm fun to watch be a
Yeah. He's an ass. It's great.
Yeah. So that's
Cool.
it for me.
Juice, what you been watching?
I watched The Conversation from 1974. This is a Francis Ford Coppola film that's got Harrison Ford is in it, young, and Gene Hackman is in it. It was good. It was really good, and it's actually something I'm going to be covering later in the month on our YouTube, Creature Comforts, with a special guest who's got a weird tie-in with that movie. So I'm excited to talk about that one. But it was good. I liked it. It was very interesting.
The corpse of Gene Hackman, everyone.
Oh no.
Damn.
Yeah. I watched the Terminator OG.
Ooh.
It had been a while since I've seen that one
That
or
movie
the
rules.
sequel. And I loved how like gritty, lo-fi it was. It was a lot of fun to visit. The future scenes or whatever the robot scenes are ridiculous. But it was just fun to watch. That movie is essentially a slasher and probably something we should cover eventually. But it was fun to revisit that. It's been many years since I saw that. I
It
watched
lost a poll recently, so it's
Yeah.
not like we're not trying.
Did it?
It did.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. What was the one that won?
It was RoboCop,
Robo.
Terminator, and fucking
Yeah, RoboCop lost too.
Yeah, we had two like all-time classics. and
blanking
then the
hard.
thing that
I don't
we
even remember
can't
what
remember.
won. Yeah. Oh well.
Nice. I'll
Something
try and
else.
find it.
I watched a horror film that my brother recommended on Shudder. I think it came out in 2020 or 2021. It's an Irish horror film called Caveat, and it was good. It is clearly a film though that they had this really cool location and everything else was built around that. They were like, we have to film in this location, and then spiraled off from that. But it was cool. It was it was something I never heard of, and my brother was like, oh, you should check this out, and I liked it. It was good. It's on Shudder.
Prometheus was what won, by the way.
Oh yeah, Prometheus.
yeah.
Killer robots. I watched The Passion of the Christ, which I haven't seen also in a long time, and that's because I will also be covering that one later for our Easter special. So I watched that one as a horror adjacent through the lens of watching it as a horror adjacent film, and it was interesting in that way. And I will be talking with Nicole about that when we cover it, so that'll be fun. And then finally, oh no, not finally, I watched Castle in the Sky. So I am continuing on with my Studio Ghibli films, and it was the first one so far that I've watched this year that like dipped a little bit. All the other ones I was really pleased with, liked a lot. I liked this one. It felt like maybe a little bit of a step down from the 5 previous ones I watched, but still really good and charming film. And then finally, as a kind of spinoff from or doing some research on Passion of the Christ, I also watched Noah for the first time, which is definitely, I think, my least favorite Aronofsky film. I
Still haven't brought myself to watch that one.
I was not crazy about it, and it was quite a mixed bag. There are a couple things he does that are interesting. It just didn't feel like a film by him. I don't know. It was weird. I didn't really care for it, to be honest. But yeah, so I watched that, and that's all I've been watching.
There was a weird trend for a minute where it was like all of these auteur directors doing Bible movies. I don't know what inspired that, but you had like Ridley Scott doing Moses.
Yeah.
Or not, Moses, with Exodus,
Uh-huh.
right? There was like lots of those that just kind of came out. I was waiting for like the Lars von Trier of David and Goliath,
Yeah.
or like
I would
Kevin,
watch that.
Kevin Smith's Passion of the
John-
Christ. Like that would have been great. But
John Carpenter's Lot's wife.
Oh, Lord.
yeah, interesting one. A couple liberties that Darren took with the rock monsters.
Yeah, I kind of wish he just did it more in his own style. Yeah. Because it had this flair of like Hollywood to it. I don't know. I like Mother a lot more, which is another type of biblical kind of film, but just in his own vision, which I feel like worked a lot better. So yeah, because I like Mother quite a bit.
Christianity.
And also, didn't he do The Fountain?
That wasn't Darren.
I don't think so.
Who did
No,
The
that was the
Fountain?
guy that did
That
the
was-
fall, right? And the
Okay,
no,
I'm looking
no.
it up so I don't say anything wrong.
Hold on. Yeah,
Oh, he did it.
I thought it was the guy who did like the Cell.
Because the Fountain is
It's-
also kind of
it's-
biblical.
It's Aronofsky.
Oh, it is
I thought
Aronofsky.
it was. Okay, and that
Yeah.
film worked a lot better.
Oh,
than-
shit.
So when he
I
does
didn't
it
know
like his own way, think it works a lot better. But you know what, I respect him for trying, because that's
High is my
gotta-
favorite biblical story.
Yeah. So anyway, so that's what I've been watching. Bob, what you been watching?
Not a ton, man. That was a super busy week, but a couple things. I rewatched Last Action Hero for the first time since I was like 8.
Yes,
It's a good
yes,
movie, right?
it is. It's a brilliant
Kind of
movie.
rules.
Yeah.
Kind of rules.
Schwarzenegger joint in it does
Lots of Schwarzenegger this week.
right. Yeah, I after watching this I was like, I'm watching every Schwarzenegger movie now.
Huh.
They're kind of
Who told you you
great.
can eat my cookies?
One of my
Yeah, you
favorites.
got it ready.
This movie actually reminded me a lot of Scream. It sort of does the same thing that Scream does with horror movies, but with action movies. It like comments on the tropes and rules and stuff. It's got action packed. Schwarzenegger is hella entertaining. The kid that they get, I don't know the kid's actor, the name of that actor, but the kid does a great job too. It's actually got like a serial killer in it too, so it does have like a touch of horror, but it's only like it kind of bookends the movie. It's definitely not in the meat of the movie. It also, there's several scenes that take place in a cinema, so if you're just like a lover of film in general, I think there's something to get out of this. It's just hella entertaining.
Lots of references, and this was before
Yeah.
like every movie was this meta, like
Right.
self-aware kind of thing.
Yeah.
But Charles Dance plays the villain, and he's like so much fun to watch.
Yeah.
It's really great, and I'm surprised more people haven't seen it.
Yeah. It's
Dude,
a
Ian
lot of fun.
McKellen's death, man, that shit rules. God, I love that movie. All right.
Damn, I had to check that one out.
I just watched Witness for the first time a couple weeks ago, and they name drop Witness in this movie and like make a joke about it, and I was like, I get it now. I didn't get it before. I get it now. It's about the Amish, smoking big old doinks in Amish.
Oh yeah.
Big old doinks.
The only other movie I really had watched is Blackberry, which we all just watched together.
Oh,
Yeah.
my God. I didn't put it on my list yet. Up there on the list.
Which is the story of the rise and fall of the BlackBerry, the first cell phone that like took the nation by storm. Super interesting cast and performances as well. Franklin, you sort of were really wanting to show us this movie because you really liked it. And it seemed like it flew under the radar this year. Like not a lot of people saw it or were talking about it really.
Yeah, and I can totally understand why there was a lot of films this year that also had a similar kind of premise where it was like you take this semi-obscure kind of like true story, a la like Social Network or Steve Jobs.
Yeah.
And we had Air,
Yeah.
and the
Yeah.
GameStop one,
Tetris.
Tetris, pinball, right? But I really do think that BlackBerry is one of the best ever because it's so funny. It's so it's almost like a somewhat of a parody of those films, but
Mhm.
still works so incredibly well just because of the dedication that these actors are giving to these
Yeah.
characters. What's his name?
Glenn Howard.
Glenn
Glenn
Howard.
Howerton disappears
Yeah.
in this role, and he is
That's the reason I want to see this movie.
he hits that like J.K. Simmons and Whiplash kind of level of scary.
Yeah.
It's fascinating, but then also the humor that and I can't remember his
Jay
name.
Baruchel.
Yeah.
Well, Jay Baruchel's great, and the other guy too.
Oh, yeah.
He's the director of the film.
I didn't realize it.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
so I forget his name, but we'll have to look it up. It's like John Stevenson or something. It's a very like Anyways, he is the director, writer, and
Matt
director of the film.
Johnson, maybe.
Matt Johnson. Matt Johnson is a
Yeah.
genius, and he has he did a couple films before this, and then a TV show called Nirvana, the Band, the Show, which you haven't seen, I highly recommend. But
That's a great name.
it's great. It's about a band called Nirvana, the Band, and the members don't know that there's another band called Nirvana. So it's great. But his like style of humor and he's just got like this perfect kind of timing and just knack for comedy. So yeah, highly recommend Blackberry.
Yeah.
I hope you guys enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was
Yes.
a lot of fun.
It was
We
great.
Yeah, we watched it
Really
just
good.
before the show. Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Really good.
I'm gonna
Love
also
Glenn
recommend that
Howerton.
everybody check out Glenn Howerton's IMDb page because he has the most terrifying and intense photo I've ever seen as his headshot
All
there.
right, now I gotta
Holy
find that.
shit.
Good for him. That's pretty much all I've been watching this week.
All right.
Let's go ahead and get into our last segment of the show, which is, of course, our Hotline Screams.
Hotline Scream.
If you guys are listening and would like to call in and leave a voicemail to be featured on next week's show, you can hit us up at 904-638-3231. We got one voicemail this week, and it is from Logan. Let's hear what she's got to say.
What the fuck is up, you guys? I know I'm a little late on the topic of going to see movies like multiple times in the theater, but I thought I would share. It's almost embarrassing for me to say this now, but also like it was a few years back. But I saw Avengers Endgame in the theater 6 times.
Oh hell yeah.
And I kept all my little movie tickets in my phone case, and I showed everyone. I was so proud of it. But I don't even watch Marvel movies anymore. I've considered going to see some, but honestly, I just don't really care for them these days. But the other movie I have gone to see multiple times in the theater was the Eras Tour this past fall, and I have definitely rented it twice since they put it on streaming. Eventually, I'll just be able to buy it so I can watch it whenever I want. But yeah, I don't know. It's been a while since I've called in too. So I don't know. I know I talk to most of y'all like every day on the Slack. Shout out to the homies. But yeah, I just thought I would share my thoughts. I think technically the only kung fu movie I've ever seen was fucking Kung Pao, which I think a lot of people have
Yes.
seen because I don't
Hell
even know if
yes.
it'd be considered a kung fu movie. But
It is.
anyway, so yeah, I hope you guys have a good week and enjoy the rest of your day. Bye.
See, we got the Swifty vote. Well, you can't say we don't have that.
We love
Come on.
Swifties. We love them here. We support them fully.
Ooh, we support the ones that support us. Okay, what do you think?
Yes. If you support us monetarily, we support you in spirit only.
Hell yeah.
I'm sure there were people that went and saw Endgame more than 6 times.
Yeah.
But 6
Yeah.
times is still very impressive.
But it's one of those movies that like I think I saw Endgame maybe twice, and I saw Infinity Wars or the one right probably at least 3 or 4 times.
I definitely saw Infinity War several times.
Yeah.
I kept wanting to, because it was more so getting to see the audience react.
Oh, yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
like for those films, that was a big part of it, right?
Mhm.
In Endgame, I totally get that too, because you want to see everybody's reaction when Cap catches the hammer or whatever. But like for Infinity War, I don't know. My life is just like driven by hearing the tears of children. So going to see.
I wouldn't brag about that too loud.
Is that me being too open and personal? No, but truly, I just thought it was so. The first time I saw Infinity War, and then it ends, and there's like all of the kids that went to go see it are like sad and
Yeah.
crying, and it was just like I had never experienced. It sounds so sadistic.
Well,
I
no,
don't know.
just like in
I know.
that type of movie.
I guess just like I had never experienced that kind of mood in a theater
Mhm.
closing out a film, and just like the sheer. You keep digging. I know what movie that's from.
You do. You got it.
Yeah, I sure do. I was just talking to someone about it, but no, just getting to hear like this palpable reaction from the audience when the film ends and everyone's just shocked and their jaws are dropped, that was just like intoxicating to me. And like, when are we gonna get that again? When is a movie going to
Yeah, good point.
lure all of these people ready to see the new fun superhero movie and then just like say, now they're all dead? How do you feel now? Goodbye, go home, see you in a year.
Thanks for the money, asshole.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point. I mean, there's
Yeah.
even in like looking at film history, just looking back, maybe oh God, Empire Strikes Back.
Empire is the only thing that comes close.
Yeah, that I could think of where like a whole audience. Yeah, because even Harry Potter movies, like people knew what was coming. Then a lot of people went to go see them, but yeah, I don't. Yeah, that's a good point about Infinity
It's a
War.
very bleak, a very bleak story to reach that high of an audience.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
true.
That's a good
Oh well.
point. But that's definitely one I saw. I mentioned, I think, whenever we brought this prompt up, Dark Knight, I saw several times in the theaters too. There's a handful of ones I've seen many times in the theaters, but yeah.
Yeah.
Infinity
I think
Wars.
Dark Knight is the
definitely up
only one
there.
I've maybe seen like 3 times in the theater. I remember I almost went the day never mind. That's a sad story. Never mind.
Oh my
damn.
God.
All right.
Oh no.
My grandma died, and I was like, I
Yeah.
have to take my mind anywhere but here.
Oh,
I tried to go to Dark Knight, and I
wow.
didn't make it out of the parking lot. So
Oh,
Oh
okay.
it
man.
was sad.
Fucking A.
So have you guys all seen Kung Pao? Is that
I don't think I.
No.
oh
No,
really?
we covered a kung fu movie last week. And so we were saying like, oh, we've never really watched a
No,
lot of kung fu
I think I
movies.
have actually, and I'm getting it mixed up with Kung Fu Hustle. I think I have
different
seen
movie,
Kung
totally
Pao.
different movie.
Yeah.
Kung Pao, I think, is genius.
Yeah.
Because it was this guy who took like an old kung fu film
Right.
and decided to like superimpose himself in it.
Yeah.
And did like the whole film dubbed and like
I have seen
redubbed
that.
it.
I have not
And
seen that.
it is some of the there is nothing else like it. Next time I come over, that's what we'll
All
watch.
right.
Hell
That's next
yeah.
up on the
Fuck
list.
yeah.
It's a good one.
It's terrific. Highly recommend it. It's like it's easily written off as like, oh, it's stupid, dumb comedy, right? But it really is actually quite genius in the way it's executed. And
Dumb
for-
comedy done smart is the greatest thing on earth.
Yeah,
That's what
yeah.
Mike Judge makes his career on.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. Thanks for calling in, Logan. Bringing up some good prompts that we were mentioning. Do you guys have any prompts you want to throw out there for next week's episode?
Next week is Living Dead, right?
We're talking about the 1990 remake of Night of the Living Dead.
Well, maybe we should do like, what are some of your favorite reimaginings or remakes or something? I don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. That's
I like that.
What do you think are some of the
Solid,
best?
solid.
Yeah, or
Oh,
like
yeah,
your
remakes.
favorite, or like underseen, or maybe like people hate it but you love it, like reimaginings, anything like that. Yeah.
Yeah, the remake
If
of
you like-
Psycho is so much better than the original.
Preach
Oh,
it.
dude.
We
Man.
all agree.
Oh boy, that's
If
never.
If you
gone,
love
boy.
the
Yeah,
Jack
the-
Nicholson
this-
Wolfman movie, this is the for you.
What was it, that Steven Seagal Frankenstein movie or something?
What? No, it
Oh,
was not
no.
Steven
Oh,
Seagal.
what was
It
it?
was fucking not Jack Nicholson. Who was it? It was
Yeah.
a huge big name actor. That movie is awful.
Oh, Robert De Niro.
Right,
Robert
De
De
Niro.
Niro.
No, that's Kenneth Branagh directed that.
Dude,
And it's called Mary Shelley's
Yeah.
Frankenstein.
Yeah.
Oh my lord.
But it starts to deviate away from the source material in the most
Dude.
bizarre way, like in the third act.
When
What
Helena
is
Bonham
it with
Carter
Branagh?
is like the bride of Frankenstein, and it's like so
Oh.
weird.
when De Niro like as Frankenstein's monster like starts to like learn how to stand up and walk, I can't stop laughing. It is so fucking funny to watch to me. I don't know.
So yeah, what's your favorite?
Just like that. Just like that.
Your favorite reimagining or remake or anything like that?
Yeah, call in 904-638-3231. Like I said, Night of the Living Dead, the 1990 remake next week. That's chosen by your boy Matt S. Thanks for showing us some love on the
Matt.
Patreon, Matt. Looking forward to talking about that one. Franklin, thank you so much for sitting in with us, man. It's been a pleasure.
Oh my god, I'm so thrilled
sure.
to get to do this, and anytime you guys invite me back, I will be just honored because you guys do such an amazing job with this, and it's
Thanks,
just always a joy hanging out and chatting movies with you guys.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, man. Thank you so much.
Yeah, man.
hell
That's
yeah.
what it's all about.
Anything else you wanna mention? Go watch Artifice Girl, obviously.
Well, thank you,
Yeah.
and definitely go check out Poor Things.
Yeah,
I forgot
sure,
to,
yeah.
to mention like there's like a list of things that is in every Yorgos film. So just be on the lookout if you bring a bingo card, or maybe you can turn this into a drinking game. But just when you do your Yorgos marathon, take a shot every time someone's eyes are injured, anytime someone
Okay.
has facial scars, anytime a woman has brain damage. And yeah, you'll be pretty drunk.
You'll be
pretty
all right.
quickly. Yeah.
Get you where you're going.
I've got some
Awesome.
very specific interests.
Yorgos has just those few things that he really's got to have in every movie.
Brain damage. Awesome. Yeah.
Some scars on this guy. Sorry.
Check out Night of the Living Dead. Get ready for next week's show. Hit us up on all the social medias. You can find us at Straight Chilling Podcast anywhere. If you want to join in our Slack channel, we're chatting every day about movies, TV shows, video games, all kinds of fun shit. Just hit us up on social media somewhere and let us know you want to join, and I'll send you a link so you can. And until next week, as always, all you mother truckers, please keep chilling.
Naked.